let's talk about Daytona. And then after that, I want to roll it back because you've been in this space for way longer than I realized before researching you.
Yeah, I'm a super old person in this space, like very long. So Daytona essentially is a open source development environment manager. Sometimes some people call it CDE. We say it's not. The CDE means cloud development environment. Daytona is not necessarily doesn't necessarily manage just the cloud development environment. It manages all your dev environments together. And so basically, what it does, it automates everything so that you have this seamless experience no matter where the dev environment is running, if it's local host or on Amazon or wherever it may be. And you as a developer, just get into coding. You don't have to think about anything. You don't have to go through a README file. You don't care about these things. It's all automated for you. And so that is what Daytona is. And yeah, the journey, as you mentioned, it started in 2009. I don't know how many people actually realized that specifically.
Yeah, I was very surprised that 2009. It started as PHP Anywhere, I think, right?
Yeah, PHP Anywhere. Yeah, so we founded the very first, I think, browser-based IDE in 2009. And I don't know how many of the listeners here, there are people that are older, I'm aware, but there are probably people that weren't doing this thing back in 2009. A lot of time has passed since we've done this. We're one of the first or the first that started it. And when we started, it was basically just like a notepad type editor, an FTP connector. As time progressed, and as Web 2.0, for those who don't remember, actually happened, we could actually do like syntax highlighting and all these things in the browser. And because this was such a long time ago, we had to build everything. So we built our own IDE, like multiple versions of it, our own orchestration platform. I mean, we even created our own authentication. Like we did everything by ourselves. And CodeAnywhere had some success. I think 2.5 million people have signed up on the platform throughout the years. And it's still interesting that when I meet people today, they're like, oh, I've used CodeAnywhere. I'm like, wow, I didn't know it was like that popular. It was never going to be a super successful company for two reasons. One, it was very, very early in sort of the technological life cycle. But also at the time, we had no idea what the difference between a user and a buyer was. And we were trying to sell to a user, being the individual developer, versus a buyer, which we now know is like a CTO type office engineering manager type person, or CISO, not the individual person self. And so those are two things that we sort of didn't know when we started. And that's why it was sort of never was that successful. But it did teach us a bunch of things, especially and specifically about the infrastructure layer that we had to build to offer a browser-based IDE. And that's sort of where Daytona came from. That's sort of like the idea behind Daytona.
So is Daytona, like, would you describe it similar to like GitHub Codespaces or Gitpod? And then it's like the all-inclusive, it's your environment, like what it's running on, and the editor and like everything like put together? Or is it like more focused on getting just common dependencies and everything sort of packaged up together and letting you kind of interact with it however you want to? I've seen a lot of like attempts at creating like unified development environments in Docker, like Docker containers, to varying degrees. So like how far along the axis do y'all go?
Sure. There's a lot of things that we actually do. And I might take it back to why we actually created Daytona, because it's also sort of like, why the hell would you make a same company twice? It's not the same, but it's very similar, especially when you got burned the first time. And so the reason why we were actually at some point, CodeAnywhere had about $1 million invested. We ended up buying back all the shares from investors and just sort of stayed online. It still exists, but it's basically just the founding team owns it. We went to do other things. I created the conference, sold that, and I was working at this other company, which was supposed to stay for a lot longer. I was running the developer experience there, but ended up leaving because about 2 years ago, the founding team started to get a bunch of inbound interest around CodeAnywhere, or more specifically, the infrastructure behind that. We got inbound from like potential customers, analysts, and even acquirers, and all of them were asking a similar question. And it was, we don't want the browser IDE. We don't care about that. Like nothing of that is needed, but our developers are wasting so much time. There's actually 3 issues, but we're wasting so much time setting this up. Can we have something that will automate and make their lives easier? But there is a constraint. Like we have to be able to run this thing like self-managed. And so as we were like talking to all these people, we found that all of them have a similar set of issues. And we even went further and started, interviewing other people, searching the internet for anyone that's mentioned cloud development environments or something similar. We found like just a bunch of people and reached out to all of them. We found that most tech companies or tech first companies, so your Slack, your Shopify, your Spotify, your LinkedIn, Eventbrite, like these companies have built something internally just to solve this, but your what I call non-tech first companies, so anyone in aerospace, insurance, banking, whatever, have not created these things. And then we sort of distilled further. So why did they create them? And so they created them for three main reasons. One is developer productivity or happiness, meaning, onboarding time to get a new engineer onboarded. It takes like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a week or whatever it may be. But not even that, just like setting up a new project usually takes a bunch of time, and developers waste about 56% of their productive time just on development environment issues. So like, can we get all that out of the way? The second thing is scalability or compute restrictions. So we might have like M3 Max and they work awesome and whatnot, but even that is not enough if you want to, spin up another dev environment that you want to help someone out without shutting down yours, or it just might be too big that it can't fit on that. Or even like a lot of people now want GPUs. Like, how do you solve these issues? Well, basically you'll call up your DevOps team. They'll enable an EC2 instance. You'll have to connect to that. It's just like a pain. And the last reason is actually security. So a lot of very like stringent compliance focused companies offer their engineers a single way of work, and that is through a virtual desktop interface. And a lot of people do this. So using remote desktop or Citrix to log into a server and then have your IDE there with all that lag is a very shitty experience. It is terrible, right? But these companies want to make sure that the source code stays within the bounds of the company. And so how do you solve that? The only way to do that is either through that or a system like Daytona, which enables you to have everything set up on that server, but have an IDE on your own. So sort of to culminate how we started, we got about a bunch of inbound interest from all these companies needing these things. And we actually figured that out, that it was essentially the infrastructure layer of CodeAnywhere, or that was the basis of it. We ended up creating a new one. This is what these companies want, and they want to self-manage it. And we went off to sort of build this new product, which ended up being Daytona. So to answer your question, it is about the security, automation, scalability of these dev environments and deliver it to an engineer using their favorite IDE. So there is a browser-based IDE if they want. Most often than not, they choose not to do that, but they use their, JetBrains or Cursor or VS Code or whatever they want.
Do those IDE integrations require any work on your part? Are you like creating plugins that plug into VS Code to do something?
Yeah, we have to create integrations for all of them. It can work with just all of these IDEs have the ability to connect to remote dev environments. So they can do that by hand to connect to a Daytona instance. But the whole pitch is that it's like super seamless and easy to use. So developers can basically use a web UI or the CLI or the plugins that are in these IDEs to create a new workspace, and it just spins up for them magically.